Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Tonight, a statewide disaster emergency because of gun violence in New York. Governor Cuomo making that declaration to address the problem. Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst explains what it means and hears from the Chemung County Sheriff on how this will impact his department.
Good evening, and Governor Cuomo hopes to address gun violence by gathering more shooting data and investing millions of dollars in prevention efforts. However, the sheriff of Chemung County is wary about the implementation of those efforts. In response to rising gun violence, Governor Cuomo is taking bold action.
Today, first state in the nation is going to declare a disaster emergency on gun violence.
According to Governor Cuomo, the disaster declaration has several major components, including requiring police departments to collect more comprehensive data on gun violence, ending immunity for gun manufacturers, and spending over $100 million on gun violence prevention efforts.
This is a national problem. I get it. But somebody has to step up and somebody has to address it.
I spoke with Sheriff William Schramm, who was in favor of taking proactive stances to curb gun violence. However, he has several concerns. He wants more details on where Governor Cuomo plans to spend money on prevention efforts, believing it should be spent on more police staffing to target gun violence.
If you have the resources and the personnel that can identify these trouble spots, and you have the people to put there, it's certainly going to have an impact on it. For sure.
Schramm also believes the state should revisit some of its criminal justice reform measures, such as discovery laws, which he says gives little protection to witnesses of gun violence.
People are afraid to come forward. Normally, now when they have that lack of protection from the anonymity, now they're going to be exposed so much quicker.
Sheriff Schramm says any action taken by New York needs to be done with careful consideration.
They are looking to enact some other new laws that they at least get the right stakeholders there and give it a long, hard look before they actually pass some of these. I don't have the confidence that they'll do that, though.
Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
The Hornell Area Humane Society is participating in the Empty the Shelters campaign this week. During the nationwide event, adoption fees will be reduced to $25 for each dog or cat that's available. Executive Director Mary Nesbitt says the event will hopefully save more animals in the region.
We always say that, when you adopt an animal, not only do you save the life of the one that you adopted, but you also save the life of another that can take its place.
Applications must be submitted and approved prior to adoption. The event runs until this Sunday. Officials in Surfside, Florida say the death toll in the condo collapse there has now risen to 36. With 8 more victims recovered on Tuesday. And the already painstaking search and rescue operation facing new challenges with Tropical Storm Elsa. Karen Kafa has the latest on the efforts.
Battling Elsa's outer bands, rescuers in Surfside, Florida recovered 8 more bodies from the site of the Champlain Towers South condominium collapse Tuesday, bringing the death toll to 36.
I ask all of you around the world who are continuing to follow this story to please keep these victims and these families in your hearts and prayers.
109 people remain unaccounted for as the search and rescue operation marks day 14 on Wednesday. Some families think they are out of time.
I had hope for the first week, maybe, but after the first week, I lost that hope.
Officials still not conceding.
We're in a search and rescue mode. It's an active investigation, and we're focused right now. Our primary goal right now is to bring closure to the families.
5 million pounds of debris have already been removed from the site. The already challenging work made more complex as Elsa churned closer to South Florida.
We have a meteorologist embedded in the team right with them on the mound to provide any weather updates to make sure that they are safe.
After Tuesday's lightning and winds, rain from Elsa is possible in Surfside through Wednesday morning. The storm's greatest impact is expected on the other side of the state, along Florida's North Gulf Coast. I'm Karen Kafa reporting.
One man is dead and another hurt after a crane collapsed in Philadelphia's University City neighborhood. Officials say the crane was unloading heavy equipment when it toppled over, trapping a 55-year-old man under the crane. That man was taken to the hospital where he later died. No word on the condition of the second person who was hurt in the collapse. Police say a pro golfer who was fatally shot in Georgia was killed because he was a witness to a crime. Cobb County Police say Saturday afternoon, golf pro Gene Siller saw a white pickup near the 10th hole and went to check it out. Investigators say the driver of the truck shot Siller. Police later found 2 bodies in the bed of the truck. One was the vehicle's owner, 76-year-old Paul Pearson. The other man has not been identified. People at the club are still shaken up by the tragedy.
It still is just a little bit surprising that, how quickly the police were there and he just managed to get away somehow.
I don't know whether he panicked or what it was, but it was, shot some innocent individual for no reason.
The gunman took off after the shooting and has not been identified. Police in New York investigating an assault on a tourist from Russia and a friend she was visiting. The victim's injuries were severe enough to require hospitalization, but it could have been worse had it not been for the fast actions of a passerby. John Diaz reports.
The back of her head was completely bloody.
It's not the way Adriana Mariella thought a walk with her dog would end, by calling 911 because a Russian tourist and her friend were being attacked right in front of her home.
The guy passed me probably 30 seconds before, so the chances of that being me were actually quite high.
Mariella then saved the 2 strangers from a possible second altercation by hiding them in her building.
He actually came back for her when we looked at the security footage. When we were inside the building, I let her come in.
In new video, you can see the suspect grab the 31-year-old Russian tourist and throw her into a scaffolding pole, then onto the ground while trying to take her purse, causing such severe lacerations to the back of her head, she had to be hospitalized. And police say her 33-year-old friend, who lives in New York, suffered bruising to her face after the man punched her and ran off. Police are calling the June 26 incident an unprovoked attack, saying it happened around 9:30 on West 15th Street by 8th Avenue in Chelsea. The building superintendent helped police get the video.
So I hope the authorities do something about this thing.
Police Commissioner Shea saying today there's still more work to be done, but overall the city is getting safer.
When you look at the overall crime in June, down slightly. The first 6 months of this year down slightly.
However, if you ask this neighborhood, they're still on edge over this recent attack.
I'm petrified. No, that makes me nervous.
That's crazy. It's supposed to be a nice neighborhood.
I definitely do have to kind of watch where I'm going a bit more than I used to.
New York City's Times Square is known for its buzz, but not the kind people heard on Tuesday. A New York City police officer who is a bee specialist responded to a call of thousands of bees swarming around a hot dog stand. Officer Darren Mays is specially trained in beekeeping for calls like this. He posted this video to Twitter of him working to trap the swarm. He was able to catch roughly 25,000 honeybees in Times Square. Mays has a hive north of the city in the Hudson Valley. He also keeps one on the roof of his precinct in Queens. The department says this swarm was moved to a safe location. New York City honoring all its essential workers with a ticker tape parade down the Canyon of Heroes. The Hometown Heroes Parade kicking off today with floats dedicated to various groups, including healthcare workers. The parade's Grand Marshal is Sandra Lindsay, a Queens nurse who was one of the first in the U.S. to get the COVID-19 vaccine. The parade will make its way through Manhattan, along Broadway, and then to City Hall, where there will be a scaled-down ceremony because of the extreme heat. More than 4 million people in Florida were under a hurricane warning, even as Elsa was downgraded overnight to a tropical storm. Isabel Rosales is in St. Pete Beach tracking the storm.
Heavy rains already flooding island communities off Florida's west coast. And strong wind gusts, plus the threat of isolated tornadoes, as the Sunshine State feels the impacts of Elsa.
I don't know what it would be like to be worse. I don't know that I'd want that, but this is okay. I can handle this.
Governor Ron DeSantis expanding his state of emergency declaration to include a total of 33 counties.
We're going to be monitoring over the next few days how that affects the river levels and some of the potential for flooding. Northern Florida has been very saturated over the last couple of weeks, so this is going to dump a lot of rain on there and is going to exacerbate any of those issues.
Emergency officials warning people to take the storm seriously.
So I know it may seem, as Floridians, we've been here a long time, we've seen every type of storm, but you really never know. We've had other storms in the past that seem like nothing, but they end up with a lot of flood damage.
It's something business owners in Pinellas County know all too well. Some were caught off guard during Tropical Storm Eta last year.
We've never experienced that, being here 6 years. So that was surprising. We prepared and lifted stuff off the ground to some level, but we didn't think it would get all the way throughout the store. So we had some damage, a couple $1,000s worth of loss.
In St. Pete Beach, Florida, I'm Isabel Rosales.
Hospitals are delaying life-saving surgeries due to a shortage of blood donors. A number of blood centers in the U.S. are struggling to meet the high demand of blood with low donations. According to the American Red Cross, demand for blood is up 10% nationwide, with many donation centers and events shuttered during last year's lockdowns. Many hospitals are now dealing with a backlog of surgeries and operations. Still ahead tonight, health experts concerned about growing COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy among young adults as the Delta variant continues to spread across the U.S.
Even individuals with mild illness could have long-lasting symptoms. There are people who have lost their hair, people who continue to have loss of the sense of taste or smell.
A closer look at new reports saying Americans dying of COVID-19 are overwhelmingly unvaccinated.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. What a warm day it was, with a lot of our hometowns reporting highs in the 90s. Dew points have been in the 70s as well, and it made those temperatures feel so much warmer. But by tomorrow, our dew points will drop down into the mid 60s and then eventually into the 50s by the end of the week. So more comfortable air is on the way. As far as those temperatures are concerned, we are expecting to start off at around 70 degrees at 8 o'clock, warming up to around 77 by 2. It will feel like the lower 80s. It's not going to be all that bad just because our dew points are going to be a little bit lower, an indication that there's going to be a little bit less moisture in the air. However, we do expect occasional rain, drenching rain at that, with a few thunderstorms rumbling through. And that's what's going to keep those temperatures cooler than normal. So for tomorrow, as Elsa starts to make its track to the northeast, it will help to pull some moisture on the backside of it into our area. In addition to that, we do have a cold front that will be approaching, and so we are expecting it to be muggy during the day, but then by Friday, I think a little bit drier air starts to move in. And so we're going to see a few showers during the day, but by the end of the day, I think drier air will start to take over. So our rain chances will start to diminish. Our future radar is showing some heavy rain for tonight into the overnight. And then as we head into early tomorrow morning, a few showers could be possible, and then increasing rain in the late morning into the afternoon with a few drenching thunderstorms as well. The activity will continue through your Friday, but I think by the end of the day, it looks like a little bit drier air will start to move in, and so over the weekend we should see a lot more sunshine. Here's a look at your forecast. Temperatures tonight will drop down into the 60s. A shower or thunderstorm will continue, and then tomorrow expect occasional thunderstorms that will bring some drenching rain. Highs around 78 degrees in Corning, Elmira around 77, and 76 degrees in Perkinsville. Your extended forecast calls for highs mainly in the upper 70s through the end of the week, so I think it's going to be quite comfortable, especially on Friday and Saturday. A little bit more sunshine this weekend, but then we have another cold front that will come through. Out ahead of it, we do warm up to around 83 degrees with a few thunderstorms, and then a little bit more sunshine for the middle of next week with highs around 85 degrees. So it's going to be a little bit closer to normal temperatures by the middle of next week. But the humidity will hang on for another 24 hours before drier air moves in. So if you like that drier air, just hold on for a couple of days.
Growing vaccine hesitancy among young adults as the Delta variant of the COVID-19 virus continues to spread across the U.S. And new data showing the same groups that have been most affected by the virus are also the ones with the lowest vaccination rates in the country. All this as President Joe Biden launches a renewed push to get more people vaccinated. Mary Maloney has a closer look in today's Health Minute.
Vaccinations among young adults have been lower and increasingly more slow compared to other age groups. That's according to a recently published CDC report worrying health experts.
Even individuals with mild illness could have long-lasting symptoms. There are people who have lost their hair, people who continue to have loss of the sense of taste or smell.
The CDC report found the weekly rate of newly vaccinated adults 18 to 29 years old slowed to 2% from 3.6% between April 19th and May 22nd. President Biden urging them to get the shot, citing the Delta variant's alarming rate of spread and saying Americans dying of COVID-19 are overwhelmingly unvaccinated.
It should cause reconsideration, especially in young people.
People who died of COVID-19 in May were younger and more disproportionately Black than those who died of the virus throughout the pandemic. That's based on an analysis of data from the CDC, which also reveals less than 9% of Black people are fully vaccinated. Yet some people, like 21-year-old Destiny Britt, say they're skeptical.
I just need to make sure that it's been around for some time where I know specifically what the side effects are.
She says her hesitation is caused in part by the legacy of the Tuskegee syphilis study and concerns about the vaccine's potential rare side effects.
How do I know that that small percentage won't be me?
For today's Health Minute, I'm Mary Maloney.
Extreme heat in Seattle has caused dozens of young seabirds to plunge off the top of buildings to their death. State wildlife experts believe the birds were leaving their rooftop nests to seek cooler temperatures. Michael Crow spoke to a conservation scientist about the unprecedented event.
The Northwest heat wave has been miserable for many. Though this colony of Caspian terns on an industrial roof in Soto.
They confused the dust from the cement plant with beach, and so they took up residence here.
Had an especially tough time as temperatures soared yesterday. Conservation scientist Kirsty Moule says their flightless chicks were stuck on the roof, desperate to escape the record heat.
So they started jumping and they got caught in the gutters. They were stuck on the ground. The asphalt was burning them.
More than 50 injured terns were taken to Paws Wildlife Center for treatment. Some were euthanized.
I've never encountered anything like this. And of course, this is unprecedented heat, right? And so this is not a situation that we've had to face before.
Between 16 and 20 birds are being returned to the colony. They hope others will be healthy enough in a few days. Still, dozens died, state officials say. And Moule says this will be a visceral reminder of the effects of extreme heat fueled by climate change.
In the short term, this was not preventable, but I think in the long term, there's definitely things that we can start doing now to start preventing this kind of, it's not really a one-off because these things are starting to happen more and more frequently. The weather's changing, it's getting hotter.
With animals risking life and injury to escape it.
It was very grisly, it was heartbreaking.
It's been quite some time since Britney Spears has performed, and some fans fear rumors of her retirement may turn out to be true. But one thing that's for sure, it seems unlikely she will stop the money she's been fighting for control over. Christine Romans has the story.
For 13 years, a court has deemed Britney Spears unable to take care of her own finances. During that time, she has recorded 4 studio albums, headlined the $131 million Global Circus Tour, and staged a 4-year residency in Las Vegas that Caesars Entertainment says grossed more than $137 million. At the age of 39, she's been working and making money more than 2/3 of her life. She told a judge last month, "All I want is to own my money." That money feeds a small army of lawyers, managers, agents, publicists, to say nothing of dancers and backup singers, arrangers and producers. Journalist Ronan Farrow sets the scene in The New Yorker. Every Thursday at noon, about 10 people responsible for managing Spears' legal and business affairs, public relations and social media met to discuss business deals, song license requests, and Spears' posts to Instagram and Twitter. The conservatorship began in 2008 after a series of personal issues that played out publicly for the singer. 1/3 of her life now has been spent under this conservatorship, and she has continued to make money. She has complained that she needs permission to spend that money, even to change the color of her kitchen cabinets, according to court records obtained by the New York Times. Perhaps the most troubling of her claims, during the recent hearing, she told a judge of the IUD birth control she uses. This so-called team won't let me go to the doctor to take it out because they don't want me to have any more children. Spears' father has called for an investigation into the claims she made in court. Forbes estimates her net worth at $60 million, at the tail end of a powerful list of pop stars. Rihanna is worth $600 million, Beyoncé $420 million, Taylor Swift $365 million, Jennifer Lopez $150 million, and Jessica Simpson $110 million.
Microsoft says if you own a PC that runs Windows, you need to update it immediately. The Windows developer says the threat is from something called Print Nightmare. It says researchers accidentally published a guide to exploiting it. The company says hackers could use it to install programs, delete data, and create new user accounts with full access to your machine. In fact, the threat is so severe the company issued a patch for the 12-year-old Windows 7 more than a year after ending support for it. If you have automatic updates enabled, it's likely your PC has already downloaded the security update. Patches for operating systems aimed at IT professionals are expected soon. A new cutting-edge technology in Japan is using a furry friend to make awestruck passerbys say, "You gotta be kidding me." Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
Pedestrians in Tokyo, Japan are likely to be either mesmerized or horrified by a giant 3D cat that has taken over a city street. The meowing kitty, which appears playfully perched above one of the city's busiest railway stations, is actually an animated space-filling test shown between advertisements on a new, massive, high-resolution screen. It's not the first trippy tech display to make headlines. Last year, a 3D wave on a screen in South Korea made a big splash. The animated art installation had social media users split on whether the high-tech tidal wave was relaxing or just stressful. As for the cutting-edge kitty, opinions will likely vary depending on viewers' feelings on felines. And from the pixelated perch for a cat to a job that is for the birds, literally. With the help of a bucket truck, this Wisconsin electric utility lineman climbed to the top of a 55-foot pole to collect a group of osprey hatchlings so they could be safely banded for monitoring by wildlife officials. Dizzying heights aside, it can be a risky effort with nervous parents watching.
You're always a little apprehensive because parents are a little mad at you and they're trying to drop stuff on you and dive bomb you.
Once the chicks are banded and their info recorded, they're safely returned. Utility company collabs like this have allowed officials to track the migrating birds over the past 10 years and as far away as Costa Rica.
That's pretty cool. It's cool with the company's helping out. Birds need all the help they can get.
For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. Former President Jimmy Carter and former First Lady Rosalynn Carter marking 75 years of marriage today, a union that spans decades of public service from rural Georgia to the White House and beyond. Both a former president and a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Jimmy Carter has called marrying Rosalynn, quote, "a pinnacle of my life." Beginning before Bill Clinton and Barack Obama were even born, the longest presidential marriage in history didn't begin with a simple yes. When Jimmy, then a fresh-faced U.S. Naval Academy student, first proposed, Rosalind Smith, as she was known then, rejected him because of a promise she made to her father that she'd finish college before marrying. A happy anniversary to them, and from our whole team, a good night to you.